We look to the heavens, boundless, and bright, in these stars. We look to the heavens for hope, guidance in a world of uncertainty. Within our universe, a mighty star shines bright over us and reflects itself to enlighten our darkness. It is from that star that our very molecules are born, boundless and bright. That mighty star commands a universe of stars that bear witness to our history and are attached to our ideas of the future. In these stars, we find our beginnings. In these stars, we learn of our endings. In these stars, in these stars.
Hello and welcome to another episode of In the Stars with Dwayne. I'm your host, Dwayne Dunleavy, and this is our end of April episode. And so we are focusing now a little bit on the Tauruses, and then we're going to be talking about you Geminis, which will start on May 21st. So I'm sure you guys are all excited. Thank you so much for watching our previous episodes. We've been able to go over what is astrology. We've been through Aquarius, Pisces, Aries, and then Taurus, and now we will be talking about Gemini, so stick with us in this episode. So just to recap about the Tauruses, they are a fixed sign. Their element is earth. Their metal is copper. They are ruled by the planet Venus, which is the planet of love and beauty and all things pleasant and fabulous. It is the second sign of the zodiac, and it controls material possessions and value, those types of things. The anatomy associated with Taurus is the neck and throat, so we want to watch out for those areas. They are, of course, the reliable lover and friend, and they rule the colors pink and green, as well as orange and blue together. The overall feeling of the Taurus is just that homey, good feeling, that stable feeling of not changing their mind all the time. You can really count on them. So we've been able to kind of like feel that that's what the Tauruses bring. And so going from that into the tarot, we've also talked about how the tarot cards work with each sign. The Taurus tarot card is the Hierophant, and that is it's a religious, spiritual card, but it doesn't mean religiousness or spirituality. If you notice on the card there, the man has his fingers up like this, and that is the symbol of things not always being what they seem. So you want to think about that when you meet a Taurus as well. They may not be everything that they seem, not in a bad way, could be in a very good way. They may not come off as reliable or as stable as they really are. And so sometimes you need to get to know the Tauruses, or people with a lot of Taurus in their chart, to find out that they're not just party goers and they just don't just love to have fun. They actually are good at methodical thinking and working and doing things too. So happy birthday to coming up to all of you Tauruses. Now, immediately after Taurus, we get Gemini. Gemini is an air sign. It is like the other air signs, Aquarius and Libra. Think about how air moves through the world. They're up, they're down, they're all over the place. They tend to know a lot about a lot of things. Now, May 21st to June 20th, which is where we start Gemini and ending. Now, we know that the symbol, as you can see in the card here, is the twins. The tarot card associated with it is the lovers, and that is all about just everything kind of balanced in your relationships, in your home life, and all of that kind of stuff. We'll go over more about that later. But the reason that the twins are what signifies Gemini is because of these two twins, Castor and Pollux. And they are in astrology, I'm sorry, in mythology, they were two twins that were born of one egg after the god was requested to do that, and that is what brings about that duality, and also just the idea of duality. So Geminis are known to have two sides. A lot of times, if you know a Gemini, you will find that that side, that other side of them, comes out whenever they are enjoying alcohol or something of that nature, or even if they get a little bit angry or they are pushed over the edge. That's when that other sign comes out. The Jekyll and Hyde kind of experience, but it doesn't always mean that they're going to be nice and then mean. It doesn't turn out that way. It just means that they have two different sides, and one comes out at different times. A famous Gemini was Marilyn Monroe, and she was known to have that on-screen personality, and then off-screen, she was just all over the place, could not carry herself or bring herself into a stable position throughout her life. So the compatibility for Gemini is going to be the other air signs, definitely, because they're going to understand the way that you think, the way that you connect to ideas, and how you analyze everything. So they're going to definitely have that in common with you. But some other ones, Sagittarius and Leo, on the fire side of things, they're going to be the people that want to do those things that you want to do, and they want to learn about stuff, and they want to have a really good time. So but it all comes down to intelligence, learning, and communication. Communication is the big thing associated with Gemini. And if you know a Gemini, then you know that they love to talk. They can talk to a brick wall, is what it said online, actually. So if you are a Gemini, or you know a Gemini, you know they love to talk, and they know a little bit about every subject. So whether it's photography or art, they will have something, and usually something insightful, not just to hear themselves speak. They'll probably have something insightful and smart to say about any subject that you might want to come up with. The body part associated with Gemini is the lungs, and actually the breath itself. If you think about talking, they rule that. So it's both their strongest and weakest point. So you want to be aware of things going on in the lungs at all times, and always have that kind of stuff checked if you are a Gemini. If you have a Gemini child, then you will probably know that Geminis do not like to be sitting around with nothing to do. You've got to keep their minds active. They love things where they learn. So whether it's numbers or drawing, art in any form usually is something that a Gemini will love to have an interaction with. Um, the birthstone of Gemini is the agate. And if you've seen agates, they are these beautiful stones. They're very, it's almost like a fingerprint. Each one is completely different from the one before it. And so it's really interesting. Another thing that I've always associated with Gemini has been the color turquoise. Now, if you go and look up what is the power color of Gemini, it's going to say yellow everywhere. So that is also an alternative. But in my experience, I have found that Geminis really are connected to turquoise, whether that is in the artwork that they do or the clothing that they choose. And I find that it really gives Geminis power. So if you're a Gemini and you're looking for your power color, go for those blues that are really light but bright, and going into purple. Those seem to be very powerful for Geminis. They like to always do something that has an intelligent idea behind it. So even astrology in itself, tarot, art, anything that has a history or that they can talk about. A lot of Geminis tend to be great art or history historians, and they will be able to tell you stories about how things happened in history and things like that to great detail. They're like the other air signs who just love to have a drink and enjoy the good life. Some of their turn-ons and turn-offs, trying new things, experimentation sexually even, and talking are some of the turn-ons of Geminis. Turn-offs, they don't like negativity. They don't like people who try to hold them back. So if you are in a new relationship with a Gemini, the first thing you're going to want to do is to ask them about themselves. Let them tell you about themselves. They will ask you about yourself, and they do want, as much as they love to talk, they do like to listen too, but they definitely like to start out by talking. So you'll want to get them engaged in conversation. Geminis almost can be their own best friends because they can actually have a conversation with themselves. Like the other air signs, they can have trouble sometimes trying to figure out the outcome of what they want, or to make a decision, or to choose between items that they're buying. So that's something that you want to keep in mind when it comes to Geminis. They can have a hard time making decisions. And that's why they really like people like Sagittarians and Leos, and that can kind of give them an idea of why they might go a certain way or another. The lucky numbers of Gemini are 14, 23, 32, 41, and 50. And again, these are great numbers to use for the dates that you do events on if you're a Gemini. Something you want to start a new project, you want to buy a new car, you might look to your calendar to one of the dates that fall on your lucky number, and that will give you some more energy, along with your power color and thinking about all of those aspects that go into your life. Now, if you are not a Gemini, and we come around to the constellation of Gemini, which is, of course, the dates of of people who are Geminis, which are May 21st to June 21st. We get around to that area, and you feel like you need to be more experimental. You need to be more into learning or figuring out what you want in life and that kind of thing. The way to bring the Gemini energy in is to wear turquoise, is to wear an agate as a piece of jewelry. Wear something that has a twin image on it. So even an abstract image that is completely symmetrical is going to be also bringing into you that Gemini energy. As we always say, if you are a sun sign Gemini, that doesn't mean that everything about you is Gemini. You have other planets, you have a rising, a moon. So you want to get your chart done. Everybody should get their natal chart done. You can go online and Google, free natal chart, free horoscope chart, and you will need the information like your location and time of birth, and you will get something that looks like this chart. Now, this is actually basically just a snapshot of the solar system from above at the moment of your birth. So whoever's chart this is, as you see at the top there, majority of the planets were in that top left area. So that's going to affect how their chart is. So you could be a Gemini, but you could be a Taurus rising and a Virgo moon and 9 other planets. There's so many different aspects that change your horoscope as opposed to someone else who is born even on the same day. Could be a different part of the world that they're born, or some differentiating time period that brings up their chart in a completely different way. So that's why, people say, oh, well, how can all the signs be the same? Well, they're not. Even if you're born at the same time of year as someone else, you have a different chart than them. And it's very much like a fingerprint. No two people have the exact same chart, because the movement of those planets only happens one time. And even as it comes around the following year, it's slightly different than the year before. So, because if you ever look at the way planets move and the solar system itself moves through the universe, it's a spiral. It's not just a circle in the same spot. We're hurtling through the universe as a solar system and as a planet in a spiral motion. So everything is a little bit different. That's why I believe actually that we're having all of these weather changes and things. I mean, on top of global warming, the movement and the turn of the Earth is on a separate, different now shape than it was even 10 years ago. And so we're going to have shifts in the weather patterns and things like that. So Once again, Geminis are one of the fun air signs. All the air signs tend to be fun because they love to party, they love to have friends, they love to analyze things and make beautiful things. Some of the downfalls of being a Gemini could be sometimes you can't turn your brain off. Sometimes you're always analyzing everything and you wish you could just stop and stop going back and forth. Um, some of the great Gemini careers out there are telemarketing, anything that has to do with speaking with other people in the business. Sales is a good one for Geminis because they're really great at learning the details of the products or what have you. And also, they tend to love anything doing with graphics or art. So if you are a true Gemini and you feel, like Gemini really hits the nail on the head with you, then you might want to get into something having to do with graphic design or something like that. So all around, Geminis are fun, interesting people, and they have two personalities minimum. Sometimes people have much more personalities when it comes to their Gemini isms. Now, we've got some amazing Geminis that are famous. I mentioned one earlier, but some of the people that you might know right now: Kanye West, Kendrick Lamar, Jean-Paul Sartre, who was an old philosopher hundreds of years ago, Allen Ginsberg, Thomas Mann, Prince, Laurie Anderson, and Stevie Nicks, just to name a few. And I'm sure if you're a Gemini, you can Google and find out all of the famous Geminis out there, and you'll be really surprised at some of them and how smart they all are. If you look at this list of Geminis, they're all very similar in the way of experimenting with thoughts and ideas, thinking outside the box, and not being stuck inside of any kind of certain thought process. They're very open to new things. So that's the thing. Some more careers. Politician is great for Gemini. Um, Twitter personality. If you are a Gemini and you're thinking about going into social media in the format even that I'm doing right now, it's a great place for you. And even a bubblegum rapper joke writer is something that was suggested online for Geminis. And I think that's hysterical because it totally goes along with them. They love to be fun and funny and to impact other people's lives in some way. You'll also find Geminis looking to help people a lot of the time. So they tend to be a very thoughtful and empathetic sign as well, along with like the Pisces and Cancers of the world. You'll notice that the Gemini symbol is the two twins, and then you've got heaven and earth above and below. So they are also conduits between heaven and earth in the ideas that they have, the way that they visualize and analyze life. Um, they're charismatic. They use humor usually to get by. So a Gemini, even in a bad situation, sometimes will laugh or come up with a joke in order to really get things lightened up. They tend to flirt by arguing. They will flirt with you by arguing And another couple of things that are traits of Geminis is that they are very charismatic. So that is why they make great on camera personalities. And they use humor as a crutch, like I said. They can talk to a wall, as I said earlier. So looking for someone who can speak for hours on end at times, you're going to look for a Gemini or someone who has a lot of Gemini in their chart. Now, like I said, if you are not a Gemini, but you need to get that going, let's say that you're a Scorpio and you need to do some on camera presentation and you think that being able to talk a lot would be helpful, then you can bring in the Gemini power to yourself by wearing turquoise, wearing an agate, bringing that twin energy into yourself. The Gemini is the third spot or the third house of the astrological wheel, and the Gemini rules communication and sharing. So, communication can be sharing in some ways by sharing an idea or educational idea or something like that. But sharing, even without verbal sharing, they rule giving to people, but they do expect a return back. So they're not just the kind of people who just want to give everything away. They do want to know that it's going to come back to them in some way. So you don't want to misinform a Gemini, because they also are very thoughtful about the communication that they receive. So if you say something to them, they're going to hold you to your word, and they're going to remember every word that you said and how you said it, because that's how they're making their decisions, is by analyzing what you're saying and doing to see, are you still a good friend? Are you loyal? Are you someone who says that they're going to do what they actually do? So that's what you want to think about when it comes to the Gemini. Their key phrase is I give. And so they tend to also work in charity organizations, but usually higher up as like CEOs or, directors of these types of agencies. They're really good at getting people together and getting people on a schedule. Now, because they rule communication, that can be a strong point or a weak point for a Gemini. So don't confuse the fact that a person is a Gemini with that they are perfect with communication. It could be something they're trying to work on in their life. And so communication can just be the point of entry for either in a negative or positive way for a relationship with a Gemini, be it friendly or romantic. So you want to keep those things in mind. Um, on our next episode, we are going to talk more about the houses and what each of them means. And we're going to talk about Cancer. So Cancer is a water sign, and they are the crab. Everybody knows them as the crab. They tend to be, actually, Cancers tend to have dry skin. We're going to talk about all of their traits and things like that. They are very emotional, and we're going to talk a lot about that. It's June 21st to July 22nd are the Cancers. So if you are a Cancer, we'll be talking about that in our early May episode. And the uh, the next thing that you want to keep in mind if you are a Gemini is that when we do go into Cancer, that could be a time for you to really kind of retreat a little bit and take some time for yourself. As hard as that can be for you Geminis, because you love to be out with people, you love to be talking about different subjects and things like that, it might be a good time at the end of May, early June, that you start to think about, how can I take some time for myself to be with myself and my thoughts. Think of it kind of as a reset for all that analytical process so that you can catch up with it and then start all over again when we get into Leo, which is a great time for Geminis, Sagittarians, everybody to kind of get back out there and to be much more social about things. So don't forget, you're going to want to get your chart done, because anything I say on my show here is only for sun signs. So you want to know what all of these signs are and how they affect you and in what house, etc. So the best way to get your chart is to just Google free natal chart and have that information on hand, which is your birth location, your birth time, and the birth date, of course. And with those three pieces of information, you'll get a full chart, which is a snapshot of the solar system from above at the moment of your birth and how that has affected your development as a human being. If you go back, if you're watching this for the first time with this episode, go back to episode 1 if you'd like to hear my explanation of what astrology actually is and how it works, and why it's all based on water, believe it or not. So go check that out. If you are an Aquarius, Pisces, or Aries, or a Taurus, and you want to get the more full Taurus reading from these episodes, go back and watch our other episodes immediately before this one. This has been a great one. Love the Geminis. Happy birthday to all of you coming up. And I'm looking forward to talking about another one of my favorite signs in the astrology wheel, the Cancers, the family people, the emotional underneath people. It's going to be exciting, as it always is. So that is another episode of In the Stars with Dwayne. I'm your host, Dwayne Dunleavy. Keep looking up.